Hey, just a fair warning here at the beginning of the episode. Connection was a little spotty for reasons I'm not really aware of. If there's some odd pauses, I'm going to try to edit it as much as possible. But if there's some weird pauses, don't be worried. It's probably just the podcast, the internet, and hopefully that won't be a problem again. Thank you. Enjoy the show.
That's a clown question, bro.
So I'm gonna kick some dirt.
He gets on base.
Just a bit outside.
I'm not the type of player that's going to be Johnny Hustle.
If you don't want me to watch the ball, you can go get it out of the ocean.
And welcome back to the show to be named later, part 2 of episode 41. We're talking baseball kind of whenever. This is the second part of the episode, and we're going to be talking about the 2015 Royals, our first team in the StatCast era.
It's about time.
It's about time we've talked about a team in the StatCast era. And, I mean, we're talking about a team, in terms of importance, this is a team, breaking a 30-year drought. And, the 2014 brought the winning culture back, and they kind of completed what they were able to do in 2014. But it wasn't easy. So tell us, what was the situation heading into 2015?
So like you mentioned there, Chris, they were 90 feet away from tying up Game 7 of 2014 in the World Series. But then, of course, Madison Bumgarner happens. We've talked about that. Why don't you go check out our 2014 Giants episode when you're done with this one. And they had never won a division title in 30 years, like you mentioned. Not only did they not win the World Series, they hadn't won the AL Central since 1985, or the AL West or East, whatever it was back then. They hadn't won a division in 30 years. That's my point.
Yeah.
And they lost Willie Butler, Nori Aoki, and James Shields in the offseason. James Shields was their ace, keep in mind. And they countered that by re-signing Luke Hochevar, a reliever. Also signed Kendrys Morales as a DH, Alex Rios, an outfielder, Edinson Volquez, another starting pitcher, and Ryan Madsen, who was a relief pitcher who hadn't pitched in the majors since 2011 at that point. And this team had high expectations, and they hit the ground running as soon as opening day came. A 7-0 start to the season. How about that? 7-0. 7 wins, 0 losses to start out in the first week. Salvador Perez, Kendrys Morales, and Lorenzo Cain were all hitting 400 during that stretch. Royals hitters led the league in wins above replacement and on Fangraphs and strikeout percentage. And unsurprisingly, they were the last undefeated team in the league. And in mid-April, Paulo Orlando, an outfielder, came up and made a very unique first impression.
Breaking ball lined into the alley, left center field, and it's going to roll to the fence. And there is Orlando's first big league hit. He's thinking 3. Relay throw to third is offline. So Paulo Orlando's first big league hit is a memorable one.
Then there's a shot into deep center field, and Trout will not make the play. And Paulo Orlando, his first 2 major league hits are triples.
Another track meet.
That is deceptive speed. He's faster than he looks.
Yeah, he is.
And Paulo Orlando is the first major league player with 2 triples for his first 2 base hits since 1998, when Mark Johnson, a catcher with the White Sox, did the same thing.
How about make it a third?
And now Paulo Orlando into the left field corner.
He got a chance.
Go! Paulo Orlando has 3 major league hits, all triples.
Sweet on contact. I knew he didn't have enough to get it out of the park at 347 down the line. Having played here 3 years, I know that if it bounces off the wall, you got a chance for a triple if you got any kind of speed, and there it was.
How about that? I mean, Chris, 2 of those hits were right down the left field line or in left field. I could not believe those ended up being triples for anybody.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, but Paulo Orlando is he's a Ricky Henderson type.
Yeah. And the Royals finished April with a 15-7 record. They were 0.5 games up on the Detroit Tigers for first place in the AL Central. And they also gave up the least amount of runs in the AL at that point. And then They had a runaway start to the summer. Chris, you want to get in on that?
Yeah, I mean, the Royals were standing alone in the American League Central pretty much, as you said, from the start. The Royals were sitting at 44-30 at the end of June, and they were 4.5 games up on the American League Central. And then in early July, the second-place Twins came to town, and in the last game of the series, Eric Hosmer comes up to the plate. One of the team's best players comes up to the plate with the winning run on first base.
Time for Lorenzo to steal a bag. That was a slide step, and that's hammered into right field. Kane will go to third. Mike Jurseri's going to wave him home. Kane to the plate. Royals win it in the bottom of the ninth.
So the Royals win in dramatic fashion, winning that game 3-2, showing, I guess, some early signs of resilience or clutch. Interesting.
I mean, how about that image there of Hosmer lining one down the right field line and Kane scoring from first?
Yeah, I mean, that's something you could get used to as a Royals fan for sure.
For sure. I mean, that's one you might want to pull out. It's a play you might want to pull out when you need it the most. Anyway, let's worry about that later. The All-Star Game voting came around in this time, and the Royals fans single-handedly started a campaign that's still going to this day to end All-Star fan voting. I remember very much being a part of this campaign because Royals fans just ruined it for everybody else. It was no fun. The Royals fans were just out there like nobody else, voting and voting and voting, and they just didn't stop. It's like that didn't even work. Like, what were they doing? And on June 8th, this is the most extreme measure that it was at. On June 8th, an update came out that listed the following. Salvador Perez, the Royals catcher, was the starting American League catcher, and his 4.4 million votes led all players. And Lorenzo Kane was the second best vote getter in the entire league. He was the starting right fielder for the Royals and the starting right fielder in the AL. And then Mike Moustakas, the Royals' third baseman, was the starting third baseman with 4 million votes. That was the third most of all players. And the fourth most of all players, you guessed it, a Royal. Alcides Escobar, their shortstop, was the starting AL shortstop. The top 4 vote getters in the AL were all Royals. And Eric Hosmer was also the starting first baseman for the AL. Kendrys Morales was the starting DH. And Alex Gordon was the starting left fielder. So that's 7 out of 9 positions that were just voted in by being Royals at that point. The only 2 that weren't in there, Alex Rios was 4th in the outfielder voting. The one guy he was losing to that wasn't a Royal was Mike Trout. Like, what are you going to do? It's Mike Trout, of course. And the other guy is Omar Infante. This is the guy that everyone was the most infuriated about. He was second among second basemen. The only guy he was losing to was Jose Altuve, and he was very close to Altuve. And at that point, he was hitting .221 with a .538 OPS. Not very appealing, but almost the starting second baseman because Royals fans voted out of their minds. And in the end, Kansas City had 3 starters in the All-Star game: Salvador Perez, Alcides Escobar, and Lorenzo Kane. And then the reserves included Wade Davis, Kelvin Herrera, Mike Moustakas, and Alex Gordon. So the Royals had 7 All-Stars in total. Pretty impressive.
Very, very.
Do you remember seeing those updates back in 2015 when the Royals were just dominating the votes?
Oh yeah, I remember. Like, there's always like on MLB Network, it'll be the baseball field, and they'll show the pictures of every guy at every position, and it was all just KC across.
It was all blue, and then one spot of red and one spot of orange.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
So, the All-Star game happens. It was dominated by the Royals. Maybe not necessarily on the field. Mike Trout ended up winning All-Star game MVP, but it was royal blue all around. And then we get into the hot stove season. And on July 26th, the Royals had the second worst starting pitcher F4 in the American League, and they needed a frontline starter to put them over the top as far as the rotation went. And also, 2 days later, on July 28th, the Royals had a major league worst -1 F4 from second baseman. That would be primarily Omar Infante. And that was a hole that they needed to fill. So what do? On July 26th, they trade for Reds ace Johnny Cueto, who had a 2.62 ERA at the time with a 1.51 ERA plus and 3.1 F4 leading up to that point. And then to fill the second base hole, on that July 28th day, they get Ben Zobrist from the A's, who had an 801 OPS, a 121 weighted runs created plus, and 1.5 F4, even though he had missed a month between April and May. And that right there, Chris, for me is what separates the great teams from the championship teams. You know, there are so many great teams that lose a championship at the trade deadline because they don't acknowledge the issues that they have. The Royals took the two biggest holes on the team and did exactly what they needed to do with them. They got an ace, they got a legit second baseman, and they were ready to go for October. And I think Dayton Moore and David Glass did an excellent job at that trade deadline.
Absolutely. I mean, you go down the line of champions. The 2019 Nationals getting Daniel Hudson and some more bullpen help. 2018 Red Sox. I mean, it wasn't at the deadline, or actually, they did get Eovaldi at the deadline. They got Pierce. 2017, they got Verlander. The Astros got Verlander. I mean, 2016, Cubs get Chapman. I mean, it goes down the line.
Yeah.
So, getting midseason acquisitions is huge, and it paid off for the Royals. They went 43-33 total in the second half. They didn't miss one beat, and they finished the regular season 95-67, which was the best record in the American League.
That's right.
Notable seasons from the Kansas City Royals. The Royals led the league in reliever ERA, and the relievers also had a 5.2 F4, which I imagine is among some of the top ranks. Wade Davis was the highlight of that bullpen. I mean, Wade Davis's 2015 season, you could include his 2014 season, some of the best bullpen work you can possibly do. He went 67 and a third innings pitched, had a .94 ERA, 10.43 strikeouts per nine, and he let, of everyone to get on base, he left 92.2% of the men allowed on. 92.2% of them did not score, a 92.2% left on base percentage. It was the first reliever season in Major League Baseball history with a sub-1 ERA and at least 10 strikeouts per nine. He had a 448 ERA plus, and the next best in the majors was 272. He was nearly 200 points better in terms of ERA plus than the next best guy. It was unbelievable what Wade Davis was able to do, and that's not to downgrade anything anyone else from the Royals bullpen, because Ryan Madsen that year was also spectacular. 63 and a third innings from Ryan Madsen to go along with a 2.13 ERA and 8.24 strikeouts per nine. Kelvin Herrera was also amazing. 69 and 2/3 innings pitched, 2.71 ERA, and 8.27 strikeouts per nine. Then you go over to the position players. Lorenzo Cain ended up finishing third in the MVP vote. Unbelievable. His, in honor of the StatCast era, I have some StatCast stats for you. His average exit velocity was in the 79th percentile. His expected slugging was in the 85th percentile. His sprint speed was in the 94th percentile. And his expected batting average was second in Major League Baseball, behind Miguel Cabrera, who ended up winning the batting title that year. And then on to the regular statistics, which is available for just about every year. He slashed 307, 361, 477, 838. He was 4th in the American League in defensive wins above replacement among all fielders, and also 5th in defensive runs above average among all fielders. He was 2nd in the American League in stolen bases with 28, and his 6.1 F-WAR ranked 9th among position players in the majors and 4th in the American League. And he was not the only standout among position players on the Royals. Eric Hosmer slashed 297, 363, 459 for an 822 OPS, and his 33 doubles in 2015 was tied for 5th among first basemen. Kendrys Morales, that's slow. That's slow boy. He won a Silver Slugger for DHs and was tied for 8th in the league in doubles with 41. He also hit 290 with an 847 OPS to go along with being top 10 in doubles. And then Mike Moustakas, the Moose, had a 123 weighted runs created plus, and that ranked 5th among third basemen. Also, the Royals as a team had the lowest strikeout rate offensively in the league. They struck out in 15.9% of plate appearances, and the next best team struck out in 18.1% of their plate appearances. So they were far and away the best at pure hitting, for sure.
So, I mean, pure hitting is sort of an art that's, like, taken with class almost. Like, you know, it's traditional baseball. It's the 80s, like you mentioned. But this team was not in that sort of mindset. This team was feisty. They were out for blood. And they got into 4 benches clearing altercations during the year. We're going to show all of them in chronological order. The first one happened against Mike Trout and the Angels.
Game hit streak against Kansas City, including that gigantic home run in Kansas City last year. And one in Game 3 of the playoffs last year.
That's lined right back up the middle of base hit. A missile. Ventura kind of staring at Trout. Not quite sure why. And Trout's got his arms out, wondering the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Ventura that threw up and in on the previous pitch. Good luck with that battle. There's a base hit out to left center. Trout will turn and head to third. Kane bobbles the baseball, and Trout is being waved in. The throw to the plate is not in time. Albert ends up at second.
Yeah, they'll have some words for Ventura right now. Attention, here we go at this point.
Bench is clearing here. Jim Wolf, the home plate umpire, to his credit, doing a heck of a job. They're keeping everybody calm.
Look at Pujols right in there. Came right in from second base. Didn't like what Ventura was doing with Trout, not only with the line drive, but afterwards.
But credit Jim Wolf and Adam Hamari, the first base umpire. Here come the bullpens, and it's just kind of have to. But those two guys trying to keep both benches at bay.
I mean, there's no reason for Ventura.
My favorite part about that video is when the bullpens come in. Look, did you notice like the gap between them as they were running onto the field? Like they were social distancing between those two sides when running into the game, and even though they were entering from the same bullpen.
Yeah, exactly.
So then, just about a week later, they get into another one with the Oakland A's.
So bounces off of, I believe it's Herrera's foot.
Yep.
Moustakas gets it. He tosses it over to Escobar, and
Brett Lawrie goes in for the hard slide.
It was a forced play at second. Brett Lawrie goes in hard. This is before the rule, and there's some animosity between the Royals and the Athletics. You know, Brett Lawrie, you know, he looks like a very calm person, obviously. Yeah. And it looks like, he kind of cleated Mr. Escobar over there. So bench is clear, and that's that. Right?
There's Billy Butler.
All right. Is there something here or
They keep going. They keep going.
or wait, we have 4 of these.
Yep. Let's just get them. So then the next week, they had another one against the White Sox. It's 3 fights in essentially 2 to 3 weeks. And this one started a little differently, a little certainly, I guess, unique.
All right, here we go. Let's see how this one fares.
Right back.
What's Ventura talking?
I don't know.
What's he talking about?
I have no clue.
That's absolutely absurd. Guy hits a one-hopper to you, and you're going to get upset about that? And Moustakas now is taking Ventura off the field. Now,
they're going out there. You knew it was going to happen. We said it was going to happen in Kansas City. That these two teams were going to have some problems. There's some altercations. Kansas City's been having them with Oakland. Now they're getting back with us.
Ned Yost is talking with Chris Sale. That's kind of an unusual situation. You don't see that. And now it breaks out again. And this is a good one, folks.
Well, it's going to be. Just look for the outside because you're not going to see much on the inside. And look for the cheap shots because it's probably going to be some.
I certainly would like to see Chris Sale get out of there.
Well, Yost, I don't know what he was saying to Samardzija.
And he was talking with Chris Sale.
I mean to Sale, but the only thing he should have been saying was get out of here. If he was trying to provoke anything, he ought to have his behind beat.
So a lot of people sort of had problems with Yordano Ventura's antics on the field. And before I get into that, I'd just like to say, rest in peace to that man. He was taken from us far too soon, a young talent that should never have had that ending to his life. And he obviously didn't grow up in the most ideal area. There's a lot of violent parts of the Dominican Republic. And I know that, I don't think he meant anything like that personally. I think he's just so much of a competitor that sometimes he could let that competitive edge get to him. And it did rub a lot of people the wrong way, understandably. But, the guy was a competitor, and he has been missed this entire time.
Yeah, I think it's something everyone can agree upon. I don't think that was something that his whatever attitude. I don't think that's something that happened off the field at all. It's just whatever happened. He was wired differently when he was pitching, and it benefited him in bad way or in good ways, and then it might have rubbed some people the wrong way as well.
So the Blue Jays or the Royals go a few months without getting into any sort of altercations, and then they go to Toronto to face the Blue Jays, and the streak of days ended there.
We told you about the 5 walks in his last start.
Donaldson gets hit by a pitch, and he doesn't like that too much. And Donaldson has something to say to Volquez. And it looks as though there had been a warning put in place by the home plate umpire, which I don't agree with at all.
That was a changeup, and I think Volquez there was saying, "Hey, my bad." Now here's where you have an experienced umpire in Jim Wolf.
Okay, so Jim Wolf, like you said, he knew it was a changeup. Volquez said, "Hey, look, it was a changeup, and it slipped."
I think it's over with. The 3-2 pitch is low. Ball 4. Donaldson flips the bat and goes trotting on down to first base. Volquez came off the mound halfway to the plate. It's almost like Edinson wants a confrontation.
He is continuing to bring it upon himself. Jerry, I got a funny feeling there's going to be some fireworks here this afternoon.
Tulowitzki is hit. And Donaldson
Donaldson is screaming at home plate umpire Jim Wolf.
Donaldson is standing there talking with Jim Wolf and said, how many guys are going to have to get hit before you respond to the warning? Hollering at Jim Wolf, the home plate umpire, saying you're going to let him take shots of me all afternoon? Gibbons is going to come out to intervene. Bautista was there first to keep Donaldson into the game.
You know what? And I think if you're Jim Wolf, you got to take this. You got to take it. Gibby's protecting his players. You got to just take it. You don't throw him out of the ball game.
Got a 3-0 lead that he hands over to Sanchez here in the 8th. Aaron's pitch up and in, and it's 2-0.
The Royals really pitching inside to Toronto, and that has made the Jays angry. Next offering, and that was at Escobar. Now both benches were warned, and they've thrown Sanchez out of the game. Sanchez definitely threw at Escobar, and Jim Wolf says that's it, you're done. And both benches empty onto the field. The Royals right now getting in the grill of the Jays, and I hope there's no activity. Both bullpens now in the field, and there's some shoving going on down there.
I'll tell you, the umpires have got to take over here. Volquez is on the outside, being held by his teammates.
Volquez got into it in the White Sox bench clearing brawl.
John Gibbons is on the field. He has been ejected. And that most likely will be a suspension, running back on the field after.
You know, this team played with a chip on their shoulder every time they went out there, and they were ready to take that firepower into the postseason, and their first series was against the Houston Astros.
So they're going in as the 1 seed, as the favorite. They go into game 1, and Yordano Ventura, who you see in the mix a lot there, he gives up 3 runs in the first 2 innings. And Kendrys Morales, he comes up to play. He has 2 home runs in that game 1, but those 2 home runs were the only runs that the Royals scored. He didn't even drive in anybody. And the Astros won 5-2 in Kansas City's house. So then in game 2 of the American League Division Series, the Royals find themselves down once again. They're down 3-0 after 2 innings. Then Salvador Perez hits a solo home run to make it 3-1. Each team got another run in the 3rd inning, and then in the 6th inning, the Royals got 2 runs on an RBI single from Eric Hosmer and a Salvador Perez walk. So the game's tied 4-4, and in the 7th, the Royals are trying to take the lead. Let's see if they are able to do it or not.
Come back to tie things up. Bottom half of the 7th, and Alcides Escobar leads things off against the new pitcher Will Harris with a drive into right center that somehow drops between Marisnick and Springer. Escobar to 3rd.
Obviously, the Astros do not believe that Escobar had the power to get it over his head, and then Marisnick ran 2 miles, I think, to get to that ball, and then he kicked it, which allowed Escobar to go over to 3rd.
Here's Ben Zobrist. Kansas City is taking its first lead of the series.
Big time dividends on that trade right there.
Yeah, the trade taking effect very quickly there. Johnny Cueto was actually also the starting pitcher, and he was not the greatest performance, but he was able to keep the game winnable for the Royals. And that's just what the Royals did. The Royals won that game 5-4. So they were heading to Houston, not exactly in the best circumstances, but the series tied 1-1 heading to Houston. But in game 3, they're facing their tallest task yet. They're facing the 2015 American League Cy Young winner, fresh off shutting out the Yankees in the American League wildcard game, Dallas Keuchel. They're facing him. And outside of 2 solo home runs from Lorenzo Cain and Alex Gordon, the Royals weren't able to conduct any more offense than that. And Dallas Keuchel outdueled his counterpart, and the Astros won 4-2 in Game 3 of the ALDS. The Royals once again are on the brink of elimination in their first series. I mean, in the last episode, we talked about expansion of playoffs and how anything can happen in the playoffs. This is a 1 seed that was possibly on its way out of the playoffs in just 4 games. Unbelievable. And then in Game 4, they're in an even tougher situation. It's the 7th inning, and the Astros are up 3-2. 3-2 on the Royals. They're up 3-2. You got Ryan Madson on the mound, and you got rookie Carlos Correa up, trying to put the nail in the coffin here in the American League Division Series.
Has homered and driven in a run with a base hit today. There goes the runner. There goes Correa again! The 21-year-old rookie shortstop, his 2nd home run of the game. 5-2 Astros. And now Colby Rasmus with 1 away. Rasmus follows up. And that one is gone.
And it is 6-2 Astros in the bottom of the 7th inning. I mean, and yeah, I mean that pretty much does it. The Astros win probability at that point is 98%. The Texas governor, Greg Abbott, tweets out, an appropriately early congratulations to the Astros on advancing to the ALCS. The governor of Texas tweeted that out. Big for the Astros. I mean, the last time they were in a league championship series was, I think, 2005. So it had been 10 years. And, personally, with the Royals, with a Royals team, I would think we would have gone, for the show, we would have gone with a team that actually, won a playoff series. But it was interesting. And, interesting choice there. I guess they were a good team in the regular season, but maybe not the best in the postseason. I don't know, but I mean, let's watch the just for the sake of it, let's watch the Astros close it out here.
3 straight singles against Will Harris.
And now Lorenzo Cain's up with a chance to tie the game.
Cain's 0 for 3 today. A couple of strikeouts against Lance McCullers. The 1-1 to Cain. Swing and a base hit into left. It'll score at least 1. Here's Rios to score easily. And the Royals, as they've done all year long, keep the line moving. It's a 3-run lead for Houston. And it's gotten uncomfortable enough for A.J. Hinch to make an immediate move for Tony Sipp.
So Hosmer needs to follow the line here of Rios, Escobar, Zobrist, and Cain, just taking nice, easy swings. Here's the pitch. Swing and a line drive, base hit right field. A run scores. Everybody moves up a base. Hosmer comes through. It is 6-4.
5 straight hits have opened the top of the 8th. And it's a not-so-comfortable 2-run Houston lead. Here's Kendrys Morales now, the switch hitter batting from the right side. Back up the middle. Off Correa, on into center field. Kansas City has tied it in the 8th.
And Carlos Correa, in the blink of an eye, goes from hero to GOAT. That inning was over, or at least the Astros would have gotten 2 outs. On a high hopper to short, the ball hopped over his glove, and the Royals have scored 4 in the 8th inning.
Here's the 0-1. Ground ball, pass Sip, fielded by Correa. No, it goes off his glove. Coming home, the score is Zobrist. Kane scores. Hosmer goes to third. Royals tie it. 6-6 game.
And Correa, shooting across the infield, took his eye off of it, and it went right by his glove. And what could have been a double play right there with the slow-running Morales.
Bases loaded in a tie game and only 1 away. Gordon bounces it to second. Altuve gets to it to get the out at the bag, but the Royals have scored their 5th run of the inning to take a 7-6 lead.
Alex Gordon came very close to getting a base hit, but the Royals have scored 5 in the 8th inning, and they lead 7-6. They were down by 4.
Would you look at that? They come back from a 6-2 deficit.
They were dead.
They were dead. They literally had a 2% chance of winning that game, and they come back from the dead. And to tack it on, in the 9th inning, Eric Hosmer hits a 2-run homer to make it 9-6, and the Royals end up winning by that score of 9-6. And they are heading back to Kansas City in a winner-take-all Game 5 with Johnny Cueto on the mound. And the Astros actually, in Game 5, take an early 2-0 lead. However, Johnny Cueto was able to recover just fine from that. He actually ended up retiring 19 in a row after giving up those first 2 runs. And then it was all on the Royals offense to produce. So the Royals ended up scoring a run. They ended up scoring a run on whatever. And Alex Rios comes up to the plate with men on second and third, 2 ducks in the pond, trying to take the lead in this winner-take-all game to advance to the American League Championship Series.
Been a couple of weeks since Mike Fiers was out there in a game.
If you could just limit 1 run in this situation, that would be ideal.
Rios wraps that one inside the line and down into the left field corner. Perez scores. Here's Gordon right behind him, and Kansas City has taken their first lead of the night.
Just a curveball that doesn't get down. You see it go right down the line right here. Toughest call for an umpire.
And the Royals have the lead in this winner-take-all game. Huge. They have the lead. They also have the momentum. And with that momentum comes even more runs. Kendrys Morales, the silver slugger for DHs. This man is looking to take advantage of the momentum. This time, not in the 5th inning, but the 8th inning. And he's actually facing the Cy Young, Dallas Keuchel. Men on first and second.
To Kendrys Morales, a 2-run lead for Kansas City. Morales sends a ball well hit into left center field, and that one is gone!
Curveball, down and in. What a reaction by Morales. That's what I love to see in the playoffs, the reaction of these guys, how excited they get. Down and in curveball from Dallas Keuchel. Kendrys Morales golfed it out to left center to open this game up and give Johnny Cueto a 5-run lead.
Something I'd like to say, that call by Matt Vasgersian doesn't get appreciated enough. Just the, and that one is gone. And just with that enthusiasm, it's a Matty V thing for sure. But that one in particular really does. Like, that's a series clinching home run that doesn't get appreciated enough.
Yeah, you don't. When you hear that, you know it's Matt Vasgersian. There's no question of
that, or Santa Maria.
Or Santa Maria. You know that's Matty V, and you know that's the thing with like Matty V and like Joe Buck is, you know, I'm fine with both of them. Matty V is he definitely brings more to the commentary, but Joe Buck also, like, especially with home crowds, he will let the crowd do the commentating ultimately. And so it was 7-2 for the Royals, and now you got the man with the sub-1 ERA, Wade Davis, to advance them back to the American League Championship Series.
Takes over here in the top of the ninth.
Wade Davis has everything you need.
One away in the ninth. Jose Altuve beats it on the ground to shortstop, and they can taste it here at Kauffman Stadium. George Springer represents the last chance. A drive to right. Orlando on his horse back there to make the catch at the wall, and it's with that exclamation point that the Kansas City Royals move on for a date with the Blue Jays.
They're going back to the American League Championship Series for the second year in a row. And the contributors to the American League Division Series, the main contributors, you start off with Salvador Perez. He slashed 286, 444, 714 for an 1159 OPS to go along with 2 home runs. Kendrys Morales was also slugging it. Had a 263 average, 300 on base percentage, but a 737 slugging percentage for a 1037 OPS, had 3 home runs, and Alex Rios had a 286 average with an 840 OPS, and then Wade Davis, as you just saw, spectacular, had 4 shutout innings in this American League Division Series. They're going
nothing new
American League Championship Series.
So now they're in the ALCS facing the Blue Jays, a powerhouse of an offense, Chris. And they had just been coming off a 2-0 series deficit that they won. So they had a lot of momentum on their side. So game 1, Edison Volquez brings it. 6 shutout innings. And in a 2-0 game, Salvador Perez comes up and tries to widen the gap.
Here's a fly ball into left. Off the bat of Perez at the wall. It's gone.
That was a quick home run there from Perez. The Royals end up winning that game 5-0. They're on top. And then in game 2, the Royals were trailing 3-0 after 6, and nobody could get a hit off David Price. In fact, the only base runner was a leadoff single by Escobar in the first. So ever since then, they had got nothing. And the Blue Jays win probability, it was up to 91%. Ben Zobrist came up to lead off the 7th and try to get something going.
The 7th inning, 3-0. 1 pitch and a pop-up. Right side. And it's going to drop as Goins looked like he called for it. Then Bautista stayed away. Base hit right field. Zobrist will stop at second, 2 on, nobody out. Zobrist going to third is Kane. It's 3-1.
Change up. Down and away. Great plate coverage by Hosmer. Loves the ball away. Zobrist popped the ball up opposite field. Kane base hit opposite field. Hosmer base hit opposite field.
Hosmer takes off. Ground ball. A run scores out at first. It's 3-2. Base hit. Here comes the runner. Throw home by Bautista. Tie game. Moustakas has tied it.
This is a change up again. Moustakas drills it, but here's why I say it's a heavy from the hospital. His ball's barely over Goins, but he's off on the crack of the bat. I thought, no way they're going to score because Bautista throws so well.
It's in the right center. It's going to get loud. Here comes Moustakas. Royals take the lead 4-3. What an inning for Kansas City. Taking advantage of the way the inning started. Scoring 4 and leading by 1. That's up the middle. Here comes Gordon. There's another run. It's 5-3.
Just amazing, Joe. 6 singles. Only 1 was pulled. Opposite field, middle of the field. 1 single after another.
If you've learned anything from this team, it's that you cannot give them any second chances. Correa made an error that led to a bunch more runs in that game 4, and obviously that fly ball that dropped led to everything that inning. So this is a team you cannot mess around with because they will make you pay for your mistakes.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So the Royals win that game 6-3, and they are up 2-0 going into Canada. So now in game 3, Johnny struggles north of the border as the Jays score 6 in the 3rd, and most notably on a home run by Troy Tulowitzki to give him 3 runs in that inning.
Fly ball to center. Came back.
I mean, that crowd out there in Canada is tough. Is tough to go against.
You know who was part of that crowd?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Michael Giunta, my father.
Chris's dad was at that game, and he saw the Royals.
He was on a business trip in Toronto, and he figured he'd pop by Rogers Center. So
why not?
It was a good time for him, and I actually have a hat that a 2015 ALCS hat, but it has the Blue Jays logo instead of the Royal and no Royals logo. So I decided not to present it to the show. But anyway,
the Royals ended up scoring 4 runs in the 9th, but it wasn't enough. The Blue Jays win that game 11-8. The series is 2-1 now. In Game 4, the Royals offense comes alive, and they stomp on the knuckleball of R.A. Dickey. 5 members of the team had multiple hits. Zobrist and Rios both homered. I didn't really know what highlight to show, so I just threw in the entire MLB.com recap. So that's what we're going to watch for Game 4.
Of the ALCS, Royals and Blue Jays, and a blazing start for KC on Tuesday. Top 1, Ben Zobrist off R.A. Dickey. A 2-run shot. Royals have a 2-0 lead. Later in the inning, still no one down. Runners on the corners for Kendrys Morales. Russell Martin with the pass ball. Lorenzo Cain scores on a close play, which stood following replay review. Now 4-0 top 2. Alex Rios goes yard. Dickey done after an inning and 2/3, the shortest start in Toronto postseason history. Now 5-2, bottom 3. Man aboard, 2 men away. Edwin Encarnacion flies out off Chris Young, and 5-2 it remains. Now 7-2, top 7. Lorenzo Cain extends his postseason hitting streak to 13 games. Ribbing single makes it 8-2. Now a 10-2 game, top 8. More from Cain. This drives in another pair, and you get the idea. Royals cruise to the 14-2 win as they take a commanding 3-1 series lead. Kansas City will attempt to punch their ticket for the World Series on Wednesday behind Edinson Volquez. He battles Marco Estrada in Game 5.
I mean, an absolute bludgeoning there, 14-2. And the Blue Jays are now fighting for their lives. The Royals 1 game away from the Fall Classic for the first time in, about 12 months, a year. And in Game 5, it's a 1-0 pitcher's duel with the Blue Jays leading, and that led up onto the 6th inning. Edwin drew a walk with the bases loaded, setting up for Tulo to widen the gap even more.
Tulowitzki into the gap. That stays in play. 3-run score. The Blue Jays busted open in the 6th.
The big break here was that ball staying in the park. It hit and bounced and hit the top of the wall, giving them an extra run. It bounces out. It's a ground rule double. You only pick up 2 runs.
Tulo's been watching these games. He knows this guy's just been filling up the strike zone. Jumps on the first pitch.
So now the Blue Jays win that game 7-2, and we're going back to Kansas City for Game 6. Royals just got to win 1 game, and they're in the World Series. So now in Game 6, Ben Zobrist and Mike Moustakas each hit home runs in the first 2 innings, respectively. And the Moustakas home run had a bit of controversy to it.
Moustakas into right center field. Bautista will watch. Come on. 2-0 Kansas City home run. Mike Moustakas. That's his first of this postseason.
Well, we've watched the middle infielders make 2 great plays last half inning. A ball to the wall that Bautista makes a play on. Here's a changeup hung out over the plate that gets drilled by Moustakas. And
the umpires are going to get together and make sure there was no interference. Bautista was calling for it immediately. And that's a reach over that wall up above the green wall.
And everything's got to go above that the screen up there. And so from that vantage point, looking at the grounds rule, that they might get this call back. It's a pretty clean ballpark. The fans actually sit back, and to reach over, that's going to be a tough judgment call for them in
Well, you can
Chelsea.
see. I mean, you can see it hit into the glove and then off that little screen up above that green wall, Tom.
Yeah, we'll take a good look at this, but I agree with you. The reaching out in front of the wall and then coming back and hitting the wall would seem to indicate the path of that baseball was not clear over that line.
They show it on the...
You place him at second base, you got to consider who's running, how hard that ball was hit. And I think they placed him at second. Now here, this guy's an instant star. So he gets kicked out of the ballpark.
Well, let's say this on the other side of it. Morales ran Bautista back to the wall and right. And they're still going to say home run.
Wow.
A very close call on that one. Chris, what do you think on that call?
I mean, if it has to clear the screen, then it's not a home run. But if it only has to clear the green wall, then that's a home run. So, I don't know. Weird ground rules.
Very weird ground rules. But Jose Bautista made in the 4th to make it a 2-1 game. And then the game stayed that way until Alex Rios had an RBI single in I believe, the 6th or 7th to make it 3-1. And now in the top of the 8th, Joey Bats came back up, already had homered in the game. He's got an opportunity to tie the game. So let's see what he can do.
Here's the 0-1. That is hit down the line and left. Into the corner, and this game is tied. It's a 3-3 game here in the 8th inning. And Bautista's got 2 tonight. And he finally breaks through with the long ball here in this ALCS 2 times. And it's 3-3.
He's had some good swings all night, and you saw it coming the other day in Toronto, but no swing bigger than this one.
That is Joey flipping bats right after he made his mark on the bat flipping world. And after the top of the 8th inning, the Blue Jays had just tried it. They had all the momentum What could possibly stop them? How about Mother Nature? A rain delay comes in. And then that's when we got the iconic Pete Rose image on Fox, if you remember that. Do you remember that, Chris? The shot of him like.
What was that?
It was. You remember like the shot of Pete Rose like sneaking into the like. I think it was either like Frank Thomas's shot it or something like that. I forget who it was, but
I think I do. But game 6 of the ALCS was. I think it was a weird. It was either game 6 of the ALCS or game 5 of the ALDS. I had taken a nap from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., which was interesting. I think that's part of what made the 2015 playoffs kind of weird for me. It was just a blur. I don't know. But anyway,
when play resumed, Roberto Osuna came in and watched Lorenzo Cain to lead off the inning. Chris, remember that time I talked to you about Cain on first, Eric Hosmer doubling down the right field line? You think they could use one of those right now?
I think Ned Yost has to run that play.
Push that button.
Yeah.
Let's see it. Let's see it, Eric.
That's into right field. This ball is down. Going to third is Cain. Holding at first. Now Cain coming to the plate. Royals lead. He can fly.
Again, another changeup, which we'll talk about another time, but it looks like it's a great play by Batista. He's going to cut off a double. But in this situation, you got to throw it in and let the first baseman redirect it because you have Lorenzo Cain. Now, he did this against the Astros when the center fielder fell down on a ground ball to center and he continued on. So you got.
How about that? The only difference is that he singled instead of doubling, but you get the idea. And now it's 4-3 Royals. They're 3 outs away from the World Series, and you already know it's up to Wade Davis to close it out.
Mr. Automatic to close out their potentially second straight American League championship.
Question is, Wade Davis, who last threw a pitch in the game at 10 o'clock straight up, is on the mound a few minutes after 11. Bottom 3 in the order for Toronto. Now would be a good time for the Blue Jays to see Russell Martin get his first hit. Here's a fly ball into center. It is his first hit. And the leadoff man is on here in the 9th inning for the Blue Jays. And now Pompey is going to come in and run for Russell Martin. There he goes. Throw down Perez. Not in time. Stolen base in a blink.
What a money bag.
Tying run at second, nobody out. Runner goes. No throw. And no swing at the plate. Now the tying run is 90 feet away. And the pinch runner, Dalton Pompey, has stolen 2 bases here in the 9th.
How gutsy is that?
Inside ball 4. First and third, nobody out. There goes Pilar. Struck him out. Low way. But down to second is Pilar with the infield in. 1 down. 2 out. George Brett checking his ticker and his pulse. Left side. Moustakis. Royals win the pennant. Back-to-back American League pennants for the Kansas City Royals, and off they go to the Fall Classic for a date on Tuesday night here against the New York Mets.
And there it is. The Royals have won the pennant for the 2nd straight year, and they're going back to the World Series to finish their business from last year. Alcides Escobar quietly won ALCS MVP, slashing 478, 481, 652, 1134. Ben Zobrist, 320, 370, 680, 1050. How about Alex Rios, 368, 368, 526, 895. Also, Luke Hochevar, Kelvin Herrera, and Wade Davis all combined for 11 1/3 shutout innings, as well as Yordano Ventura with a 3.38 ERA and 10 2/3 innings pitched. How about that, Chris?
I mean, incredible. And interestingly enough, this 2015 team had a like twice. I mean, I don't even know how to compare it. A way harder road to the World Series than the 2014 team, which might have built.
Yeah, they didn't even lose a game until the World Series.
Right.
They had to grind through. They were dead to rights against Houston. They had to grind it out against the Blue Jays, and they've earned their right to be here, and so have the New York Mets.
Yeah,
Game 1. The Royals bring the fire, starting on the very first pitch a Royals hitter had seen in the World Series.
You've been watching the Royals. Be ready. He's swinging. First pitch.
It is Escobar, and he swings and hits it into left center. Back at the track. It is dropped. Cespedes couldn't make the catch. How about that effort? Digging around third. Here comes Escobar. 1-0 Kansas City. An inside the park home run for Alcides Escobar to start the World Series.
I can't believe he threw a fastball over the plate first pitch.
It's the 12th inside the park home run in World Series history. And Yoenis Cespedes went to his right, either worried about a collision, guys, didn't see it, but just kind of flashed at it with his glove.
I don't think he saw it off the bat. But again, you have to pitch Escobar as if the count is 0-2 when he steps into the batter's box. You know he's swinging. Watch the read and send.
Chris, I remember when that happened, I just looked at my TV and thought from that.
There's no recovering from that.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
But actually, the Mets did recover quite quickly. They did have a 4-3 lead in the 9th. And also, Edison Volquez was making the start for the Royals, and he had a quality 6 innings pitched and 3 earned runs. And all the while, his father had recently passed away, like hours before the game, and he learned of his father's passing afterwards. So, pitching with the weight of not knowing that can be tough because he knew that his father was in critical condition, and I guess it was reported that he asked that he didn't know until after he got off the mound. So that was obviously really tough for him. But the Royals made it all better. In the 9th, Jerry's Familia was trying to close it out, and Alex Gordon, well, he had other plans.
Gordon in the air to center. Back at the wall. This game is tied.
And the Royals have tied it up against Familia. And the game ends up going into the 14th inning. Something has to give. And finally, the Royals end up loading the bases with no outs, with Eric Hosmer coming up.
Into right, Granderson back, Escobar tags. Here comes Escobar. The Royals win game 1. Hosmer drives home the winner in the 14th.
Kansas City wins game 1 of the series, and great time for Johnny Cueto to make his mark on that trade. In game 2, he was nothing short of dominant.
Big price to get him, to bring him here from the Cincinnati Reds, and the question is, will he shoot blanks tonight, or will he do his job and pitch well against this lineup? 2-2 pitch. No. Got him looking, and Murphy, and he can't figure out what to say. Hard hit to third. Moustakas out over to first. Got him back. Struck him out. One away.
Here comes the changeup, and a nasty one. Look at the run on that pitch. Top hand comes off the bat. Great arm speed. Whenever you see the hitter out front and the top hand comes off the bat, he has been fooled by the timing and the speed of the arm.
Cueto makes the stop. 2 out. Lagares into left center off the end of the bat. Late break by Kane, but he can close with the best of them. No. Count him on the inside corner. Force the Royals to give better pitches to Murphy. Cespedes 0 for 3.
Look at him do a little wiggle on the mound.
Can't flag it down. Escobar with a backhand to get him. And Lagares cut down. The defense has shined for the Royals in October. Broken bat, fly ball, right field. How about Cueto? Royals up 2-0. Cueto now 2-1 this postseason. DeGrom 3-1 in a 2-hour, 54-minute game.
Johnny Cueto owns in game 2. His final line: 9 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. He had a game score of 80, and that is a Royals postseason franchise record. And it is still the most recent complete game in World Series history. The Royals would win that game 7-1. Game 3. It's into New York now, and Yordano Ventura gets roughed up as well as the rest of the pitching. The Mets score multiple runs in 3 innings, including a home run by the great David Wright. I mean, I know we're not covering the Mets right now, but you got to give it to David Wright for everything he had gone through at that point in his career. To have a home run in the World Series obviously meant everything to Mets fans, to him, to everyone around him. And that's something you love to see.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So the Mets win that game 9-3. It's 2-1. And in game 4 now, the Mets are leading again 3-2 in the top of the 8th. And there's 2 on. And I'm sorry, Michael Conforto hits 2 homers to contribute to those 3 runs. And the Royals had men on first and second with 1 out. And Eric Hosmer is coming up once again, trying to break things through.
Chopper on the infield. Can't turn toe. Murphy boots it. In to score is the tying run, Zobrist. And this game is 3-3 in the 8th. And going first to third is Kane. That's the go-ahead run, only 1 out.
You almost saw Hosmer go.
So Daniel Murphy goes from hero to GOAT, like they said earlier about Carlos Correa. I mean, Murphy dominated the NLCS that year, and that was a low point for him. And once again, you can't give the Royals more chances because they got more runs that inning on RBIs from Mike Moustakas and Salvador Perez. The Royals win that game 5-3, and they're 1 game away from winning the World Series. So now we're in Game 5. Matt Harvey was dealing for the Mets, and he had a 2-0 lead heading into the 9th inning. Harvey walked Kane to lead off the inning because he was still out there, and Kane later stole second. And Eric Hosmer doubled him in to make it 2-1, and then Moustakas grounded out to bring Hosmer, the tying run, into third. So now the tying run's on third, 1 out, and Salvador Perez is going to try and tie this game.
Runner at third, 1 out. Broken back. Cut off by Wright. Out, throw home. 1-out, tie game. Unbelievable base running by Eric Hosmer has tied it. They keep finding ways.
Well, you know you're not going to get many opportunities when the closer's in the game to put the ball in play. David Wright cuts it off, makes the throw. Look at Hosmer. Immediately, he takes off. It's such a difficult play for Wright because he has to turn it.
So the game is tied on Eric Hosmer's mad dash into home plate. And now we're innings later into the 12th. Luke Hochevar was dealing for the Royals for 2 innings, and eventually the pitcher spot came up. So Christian Colon came in to pinch hit with the go-ahead run on third in the form of Gerard Dyson. The Royals were looking to put the go-ahead run in and win the World Series.
Here it is, first chance in the postseason for Colon.
What a time to take your first postseason at bat this postseason.
His first of the postseason. Colon delivers into left. In to score is Dyson. And Kansas City is on top, 3-2.
Give me some! Attaboy! Let's go! Hell yeah!
The Royals tied it, 2-2 pitch. That is a fair ball. Down the line. 1 run scores. That's Colon. Holding at third, Orlando. And it's 4-2 Kansas City in the 12th. Here's the 0-1. That's a shot into the gap in left center. Everybody takes off. 1 run scores. Here comes Escobar, and now Zobrist. Kane is emptied him. And the Royals have blown it open in the 12th. 7-2.
So the Royals are now up 7-2. They're up 5 runs, and they still haven't used their secret, not so secret, but their automatic weapon in Wade Davis. Wade, 3 outs. World Series is yours. Let's close it out.
Here's Davis. Big mountain to climb for the Mets. Down 7-2 in the 12th. Duda strikes out 1 away. 3-2 pitch. Struck him out. 2 down. And the Royals are 1 out away. The 1-2 again. Inside corner. The Royals, 2015 World Champions.
And there it is. The Royals are the 2015 World Series champions, their 2nd title in franchise history and their 1st in 30 years. Salvador Perez won MVP of the World Series, slashing .364, .391, .455 for an .846 OPS. Mike Moustakas had a .304 average. And out of the bullpen, Chris Medlin, Ryan Madsen, Luke Hochevar, Kelvin Herrera, and of course, Wade Davis combined for 18 scoreless innings in the series. And after Game 1 of the division series, Alcides Escobar hit safely in all 15 of the playoff games. Wade Davis in the entire postseason, 10 2/3 innings pitched, a 0 ERA, did not allow a single earned run through the entire month, a 167, 231, 167, 397 slash line against. By the way, the fact that the average against and the slugging percentage against are both 167. That means that nobody hit an extra base hit off of him throughout the entire postseason. Not only did he not allow an earned run, he didn't allow a double. He didn't allow a triple. He did not allow a home run. Every base hit allowed him against him was a single. He also had 3 walks and 18 strikeouts. And he allowed 5 hard hit balls among 39 batters that he faced. That is a 12.8 hard hit percentage. That's really good. The whole bullpen throughout the playoffs, a 2.40 ERA in 62 2/3 innings pitched, 87 strikeouts, 15 walks, and 12.3 Ks per 9 with a 5.8 K to walk ratio. And the Royals as a team hit 349 with runners in scoring position throughout the post. That stat right there, Chris, that is their legacy. This team was unbelievably resilient. They were losing in 4 out of the 5 World Series games. They won in 5. And they were also losing in all 5 of the Division Series games. And they found a way virtually every single time.
Yeah, I mean, it was this team, you put it in there. I mean, it redefined what it takes to be a championship team. That, I don't know, in the modern era, you're not going to see a lot of teams like the Royals. And, I think people would also be surprised by the amount of home runs they were able to hit as well. I mean, they're known for singles hitting and, smart base running, first to third, not even stolen bases, but just taking the extra base after a single or a double. But if they needed a home run, they were able to get a home run for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it helps that they added a guy like Kendrys Morales before the season that they didn't have the previous year.
Correct, yeah.
I mean, this team they were dead against the Astros. They were not supposed to come back nobody was supposed to come back against the Astros in that situation. They did it all without even recording an out. I mean, it was tied with 0 outs in that inning.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
So that is going to do it for the 2015 Royals, an unbelievable team. They pushed all the right buttons, and that's with management. Ned Yost did a great job. David Glass, Dayton Moore, the GM, the entire team with runners in scoring position in any situation. It was just a good all-around team with very good players throughout everything. And, of course, you have Wade Davis having an unstoppable season as a closer. You have Johnny Cueto coming in from the trade deadline, having a great postseason. Ben Zobrist coming in at the trade deadline. Of course, Kane finishing 3rd in the MVP voting. You have Gordon playing stellar defense and hitting timely just like always. You have Perez as one of the best catchers in baseball. Moustakas redefined himself as one of the best third basemen in baseball. Eric Hosmer especially. Alcides Escobar. I mean, the list goes on and on and on just the amount of contributions that they were able to get from different guys.
Yeah, and I mean, just from a viewer's perspective, one of the most fun teams to watch in recent memory, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Second. Oh, never mind. All right, yeah, and that is going to do it for the 2015 Royals. It is time for our favorite part of the week. Chris, you addressed it earlier in the show. So you're picking first this week, number 1 through 20.
Number 1 through 20. The team we're going to be talking about. All right. What did I pick last week? Okay. All right. The team that we will be talking about next week is going to be team number 20.
Number 20 is a team. Okay. This is a team that one of these Royals teams actually went up against in the playoffs in these years. A forgotten team, a powerful bunch of people. That is the 2014 Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you got Nelson Cruz. You got Delman Young's big hit. You got J.J. Hardy, Adam Jones. You got Chris Tillman at the top of that rotation. Zach Britton closing it out. That's a fun team.
That is a very, very fun team. Definitely forgotten about because that Orioles core only made it a couple playoff runs, and unfortunately for them, came short both times.
Yeah.
So,
and that is the team we're talking about.
Yeah.
So now it is my turn to guess.
What player are we going to be talking about next week?
We're going to be talking about player number 11.
Number 11. Player number 11. We are going with someone, a member of the 3,000 Hit Club. And honestly, you could make the case that he is more famous for his baseball card than his actual baseball stardom, what he did in the game. We are talking about Honus Wagner.
Oh, wow. Honus Wagner. Worked for peanuts. Literally worked for peanuts.
Yes. We are
That is
talking
from this is SportsCenter ad.
Yeah.
I did. Okay, that's another dead ball era guy, if I'm not mistaken.
That is another dead ball era guy. Honus Wagner.
Wow. I was not ready for that one.
Yeah, throwing a bit of a curveball.
Okay, so we got yeah, I mean, that was a Clayton Kershaw curveball if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, and I mean, I figure, we've done a lot of modern era players, and it'll be like, oh, they are one of 5 people to do this. It was him, blank, 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 Honus Wagner, blank. So I mean, I figured why not dive into this guy's career?
There we go.
Why not?
Wow. Okay, I was not expecting Honus Wagner to be on this list, but I'm glad he is.
All right. Well, that leads into the conclusion of this episode, where I hope you enjoyed it. We talked about the 2015 Royals. Hope you enjoyed the Rickey Henderson portion of the episode as well. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and you want to watch the videos with us, we had a lot of those today. You can go to our YouTube channel, subscribe on STBNL with Chris Gianta and Daniel Curran. If you want to follow us on Twitter, follow me at Chris_Gianta, follow Daniel at Daniel_Curran. If you want to follow the show on Instagram, follow us at STBNL Podcast. Got a lot of good content that's about to come up.
That's right.
There. And
also, as always, we would like to thank Baseball Reference, Fangraphs, and MLB on YouTube for their contributions. We would not be able to do this show. You would not be able to hear these stats or see these videos without them.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you to those sources. And we hope you enjoyed our episode on Rickey Henderson and the 2015 Royals. And we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday talking about and seeing you next Friday where we're talking about the 2014 Orioles. See you next week.